Welcome in, everybody. This is LoreForged, the podcast for Ashes of Creation, and we are your hosts. This is episode 46, the night before the server mesh. Not really, because it got postponed, but we'll talk about that in a minute. We're your hosts. I'm Jibs, and we're joined by Cash.
Hey, everybody. How you doing tonight?
The Rubber Band Man.
The Rubber Band Podcast. Bringing it back.
Oh, gosh, that's good. And Sonny's here.
Hi. I'm getting gun shy about introducing myself after the last couple streams. Whenever I get raided by like another stream, midstream or something like that, I always, turn on the solo camera and I'm like, hi, I'm Sonny. I'm one of the hosts of a podcast called LoreForged. And now I'm starting to get people that are like, dude, everyone knows who you are. So I'm like, okay.
Limited fame.
I guess people know who we are. But then you go on a show like on Vladis, and he's like, you guys are new to the Ashes of Creation space. And I'm like, I guess, like, compared to everyone else we know, yes, that is true. But at some point, we're going to have to be, people that have been here for a little bit.
It's like being the last guy hired in the fire department.
Yes. That's
it
exactly
truly is. If you're the last guy hired, you're the rookie for life until another guy gets hired under you. And then you're like, yes, finally.
And there is no standardized time in which that happens. If the next guy gets hired after you, 5 days after you, it's like you've been the saltiest veteran. In those 5 days. You just grew up and like, man, I remember, you'll tell stories about the 3 days before he was hired and all that. But if you go 7 years, they will still treat you like you walked in yesterday. It's amazing.
I like Wizzy's comment. She says, weird. I think of you guys as OGs, just rerouted.
We did get rerouted because we were in the space for a time before. Before we continue the show, Sonny, we have some business to handle.
This is true.
With Mr. Jibs.
This is true.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
A one.
Are you ready?
A two. A 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you.
Gosh, this is awful.
Happy birthday to
It's like 2 different pitches.
Happy birthday, dear
Mr.
JB.
President.
Happy birthday to
you.
Wow, thank you. That was awesome. Oh, wow. Thank you. Gosh.
release that on Spotify.
Yeah, watch that on
that.
video on Spotify. That's hilarious. Gosh, thanks, guys.
Happy birthday, bud.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cheers, buddy.
Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it.
I can't wait for you to get your gift in the mail. It's going to be awesome. You're going to love it.
Oh, I can't wait. That's for sure.
It's going to be a surprise to all of us because we never saw it before they shipped it. So we'll see what happens.
I think you're going to love
part
it.
of the fun.
I think you're going to love it.
Oh,
Unless you
will.
absolutely hate it.
That's how I'll open it up. Should I wait to open it till we're live on the next episode or something?
Nah.
No? Okay.
No.
All right.
But you should show it on the next
You should
episode.
show it on the next episode.
I will.
But open it right away.
I will.
Yeah.
Should I start with the downer, like I'm really disappointed in this gift and just show it, or should I start up high?
I mean, if you want to be an a-hole about it, then yeah, go right ahead. I deserve that one. I asked for that one.
No, that was for Jim.
That was for me.
Okay.
Bro. I don't care about the cussing.
Oh gosh,
You know me.
Oh, thank you, chat. You all are too kind. Yes, thank you, birthday. Yes, thank you. I'm Jibs. Welcome to Jibs's Diner. All right, like that throw-in reference. Most people won't get it here. Actually,
old school reference.
Yeah,
you gotta be around for a long time to get that one.
Yeah, you do. You got to be around a decade for that one. Well, thank you, gentlemen, and thank you everyone who's tuning in. If this is your first time here, well, welcome. We talk Ashes of Creation. And this week on the show, we are talking the next development update. So we're going to be kind of trying to figure out what server meshing is as we prep for next week. And also, we're doing something we've never done before. And we thought, hey, that'd be cool. Let's do it. So we are pulling some YouTube comments. A lot of you, of our audience, you tune in on YouTube. And so we thought, hey, let's pull some of your comments and have kind of a Q&A. So we're going to have some fun with that later. But, gentlemen, development live stream announcement. Now, this coming to us from Ashes of Creation's official Twitter and forums. This quote, our next dev update live stream featuring an Alpha 2 server meshing tech, which we're trying to figure out what that is, and I'm sure we'll discuss it, is coming to you live on Friday, June 28th, which is no longer the case. It has been moved now to July 3rd, 11 a.m. PST. Stevie Stick, he's sick. Steve Sharif Stick.
Are we worried?
Steven?
It's a little dicey a topic.
Steven, if you're listening, we need you well to do whatever you have to do. If you need somebody to bring you chicken soup, we'll do whatever it takes.
I know a guy in California that can make this happen.
True. It'll be all natural.
It's like an hour from me.
Yeah, it's stay warm.
I'm a little concerned. You watch this dude just work himself to like nothing on camera all the time. I don't know when the last time we saw a live update that you weren't, filling out a bingo card for when Steven starts coughing. That has been a long-standing tradition, and it's not that I don't think the guy like is healthy or something like that. You just get the impression that he's working so hard that he might be killing himself. And that does concern me a little bit.
I think because we always see the only pictures we ever see of Steven are on shows or on their showcases. I want to see some pictures of Steven on vacation. I think the guy earned a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Have you ever seen a downtime Steven picture?
I don't think he posts it. I know he goes to Vegas. He likes Vegas. Big Vegas guy.
Of course he does. Of course he does.
Do you relax in Vegas though?
Well,
you really don't. I remember one time it's fun story here. So I got married in Vegas. First of all, me and my wife got married at the Bellagio 24 years ago. Yay, me. Anyway, we wanted to do a destination wedding, but we didn't want to do like the super far location. We wanted a place that we really enjoyed and where our friends could go. And so we ended up getting married, like I said, at the Bellagio. But I remember going out with a good buddy of mine the night before, and we went into a casino and we sat down at the blackjack tables and we were just shooting the crap and getting free drinks and doing all the things you do in Vegas. And the morning, let me speed up here. The morning of the wedding, when we finally checked our watches, we stumbled out of that casino and never knew that the night came and went. Had no idea.
Oh.
And we stepped out of there when the sun was coming up at like 6 o'clock in the morning. And I just went, oh, fudge.
On the day of your wedding.
On the day of my wedding. The wedding was later that afternoon, and that's a true story. But I did fine. I was able to get through the ceremony, and we got married. Things worked out. We had a children.
Spoiler alert, it worked out.
And we're still 24 years later, we're still together. So it worked out very, very well. But yeah, that is a true story. And it just goes to show that in a Vegas casino, you may walk in and they do that on purpose. You have no idea what time it is outside in a Vegas casino. So.
Yes. Or inside a Vegas casino. Like there's not a lot of clocks in there.
No.
So I lost a groomsman at my wedding too. And he showed up at basically game time. we weren't real sure if he was going to make it. That wasn't me, thank goodness, but I just about had a man down on mine as well. So these things happen,
They do. They do.
My wife's taking me to a casino tomorrow. It's funny we bring this up. Part of my birthday gift. Like, I'm giving you X amount of dollars and no more. Going to the casino. I said,
nice.
Okay. Cool.
Yep. I can see Jibs at 11 o'clock in the morning. I can just give me $20 more. I can win it all back.
I got a system. I got a system, guys. I can beat it.
Yeah. I promise I can count the cards as I twitch.
I would love to go to Vegas with Steven.
Oh,
seriously,
that'd be a good time.
How much fun would that be? I would love to go to Vegas with all of you guys.
Heck yeah, let's go.
Everybody in chat, let's go to Vegas. That would be so much damn fun.
I think you're going to get that opportunity. I think that I think Vladis was just talking about this the other day, that there's like he was talking about the launch party in Vegas, and I'm like, the launch, like the full launch. He's like, yeah, the launch party. I'm like, do you know when this game is launching? He's like, no. I'm like, because I think it might be like 2027. He's like, yeah, probably. I'm like, so you got an invitation to the launch party and an unknown date 3 years in the future? So I don't really know what's going on, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be in Vegas.
And so here's a question. If they end up doing some type of a public launch party in Vegas, because I know there's a private one for the biggest backers of Ashes. If they do,
maybe that's
if
what
they
it's
like,
talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, if they extend that out to like, hey, whoever wants to come down, we're going to be doing private things with those folks on such and such a nights or whatever, but everybody else come down, like, let's party. Are they going to do that before the game actually launches, or are they going to launch the game and then they're going to be in Vegas that weekend? I would highly doubt that.
Oh, no way.
Because they're going to want to be in the studio for when that happens, obviously. And there'll be like 4 people that show up because everybody else is going to be playing Ashes at home.
There's no way. What a ridiculous idea that would be. Like,
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? And the game is like crashing and the devs are sitting there with like their drinks in their hand, just like,
Yeah.
I got to get out of here, man.
I think it would almost have to be like the week before or 2 weeks before. But then what they open themselves up to is a bunch of people drunk just going like, you guys know you can't F this up, right? You know you can't F it up.
Whatever you don't hit Control, Alt, T, and X at the same time, because the whole thing will collapse.
Make sure the server meshing is working correctly before you
I invented that and the piano key necktie.
You know what we should do? We really should get started on this. But you know what we should do while they're doing those private parties? We should host just a massive community party during this time slots when it's the private parties going on that we can't be at. Let's get everybody together. We'll just
right outside the door,
of
wherever the private
right
party
outside
is.
the door, crack the sticks and just
just going open.
You guys are filled with terrible ideas. I want you to know.
Right? Yeah, thank you.
All right. So, gentlemen, server meshing. What on earth is it? Number one. And number two, what do you expect to see? I don't know what this is.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to just do the preface on this thing. We have done this. I have now done this 3 times because I did it once on Vladis. We did it once on Soto. And so this is my 3rd time talking about server meshing. And here is why I would say something like that. The first time, I had no earthly idea. So I could talk approximately 0 seconds about what server meshing is. The second time, I did a little bit more research, and I can talk for about 30 seconds about what server meshing was. Now, I feel like I know everything there is to know about server meshing, and I can talk for approximately 45 seconds about server meshing. Okay? So... server meshing is a technology that is being invented by a couple different companies right now. Apparently Star Citizen has something that's going on with this, and apparently Ashes Intrepid is doing this same sort of thing. And it's a way of taking a game, and instead of having it on one server, or as like ESO did, one gigantic server, they have multiple servers that allow the game to communicate at the same time through different servers. So the big thing with servers is that it has a capacity, and once you get up to that capacity on the server, it doesn't do anything but shut down. It just kind of hits its cap, and then you're in trouble. What this would do is allow other servers to help lift that weight, kind of like a weightlifting spotter. When you get to that point where you're going to fail, another server sort of picks you up a little bit. But it also does other things, like you can have the game that is assigning different servers to different things while the player would never know anything different. And so the people are still there. There's no sharding situation. There's no like, why Bob says he's in the same room, but I don't see him kind of situation. And you also don't have the mega server situation. So honest to God, that's about all I know about server meshing, and it's taken me like 2 weeks to get there. So apparently this is so exciting, though, that they wanted to make it an entire update, which is the really crazy thing to me, that like in the midst of introducing things like the Bard and the Summoner and, you know, Node Wars and stuff, that somebody managed to convince Steven that doing a server meshing update in like June before Alpha 2 was a good plan. So it's gotta be something, right?
Well, we have gotten word that what Ashes of Creation is doing is something, it's still in the realm of server meshing, but it's something new and innovative. So it sounds to me like they're actually building their own system, which is what I'm really hoping for. Server meshing in the past, if you do a Google search for it, the game that's going to come up most is Star Citizen because they have a server meshing system. However, other games have also done similar things. Like all MMOs to some extent have some type of server meshing. And there's several things that server meshing actually does. And for one of them, like the biggest thing that it does is just like Sunny was saying, where the servers will seamlessly help each other out without the player even knowing that that's going on. So if you have a lot of players in one certain area, the other servers can kick on and kind of help distribute that load. And that's called dynamic load balancing. So essentially, it allows the system in itself to distribute the loads that that all of these their computer servers are having to deal with. And it's going to eliminate like bottlenecking, lag, server shutdown, and it really ensures more of like a smooth performance type thing for you. The next thing that server meshing does is it helps the world seem seamless to you. So it's going to eliminate your load screens for the most part. I mean, there's going to be, if there's something is truly instanced, you might still get a load screen, say if you're going into a dungeon or if you're, you know, going into certain content like a battleground or something like that. You will still get a player load screen. But server meshing helps to kind of keep the experience as much as you can in the world seamless. Another thing is it helps with something called fault tolerance, to where if one server mesh fails, then the others can again pick up the load, and that really helps with the reliability and stability of the game world. Another thing is scalability. So if multiple servers are working, and you know, say you have a giant battle going on and the world isn't used to it, those servers aren't used to it, then more servers can scale in as needed in order to keep that seamless experience. Another thing that it could do is something called geographical distribution, where the servers can be pretty much distributed across like a vast geographical location, and that will help to reduce latency. Kind of the way a repeater works for radio signals, it's kind of the same thing. So all of these things together help this concept of server meshing, this technology of server meshing, to support the concept of a persistent world for you. And like Sunny was saying, if you're all by yourself in a certain area and you're passing by, you're like approaching these areas where you have these huge buildings and all kinds of stuff, server meshing can help with moving the information so that those items can render as you approach. But the stuff that's behind you that you're not seeing anymore, or things that are kind of off in the distance, can kind of start to despawn, I guess, if you would call it, because you don't see them anymore. You don't need those things anymore. So that way, like when another player comes into your area, you can see all the things on that player. When a bunch of players come into that area, then the other servers will just kind of kick on and absorb the load of having to render all the things that they have on them, all the objects that are around you in the environment, and it does it seamlessly without the player even noticing.
What if I turn around really quickly?
It already knows that you're going to do that. It's AI, bro.
I knew. It's like the Hunt for Red October when he knew which way he was going to turn the boat. So he
Yeah.
knew he was a defector. That's an old reference.
It's such a good movie.
Such a good movie.
Fun fact, I
Cash.
watched that in prison.
Nice.
Just as because I was a
Awesome.
teacher. I was a teacher. I wasn't in.
Awesome.
Just to be clear.
Prison stories. Cash, here's my next question for you. How do you say everything that you said in an entertaining way for an hour-long live update?
You show people. You just show them. So the thing that I am anticipating happening is they are going to have had another player test with the Phoenix group. That's what I think. So I think there's going to be a bunch of people in one area, and I'm hoping to see the back end of the thing, where we actually get, like some technical data. Like I loved when they showed the heat map that day.
Oh yeah.
I like to see that kind of stuff, that kind of back end stuff. And I'm really hoping like we can see server load distribution. Like maybe they show a graph of different servers and how they work in real time. And if you have a load on one, it just kind of whoop, it pops up on the graph. And then all the other ones just like start to click on, and then you kind of see everything level out. That's what I'm really hoping to see. But I really think you just got to get out there and just show the peeps.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, like people want the flashier stuff, and I get it. Like especially with Alpha 2 getting closer, but like it is I'm in agreement with Sunny. Like they're very confident in this feature of the game that they purposely take out time leading up to Alpha 2 to discuss it. There has to be something that is, whether it is groundbreaking or it's new in the genre. Either way, they know their timetable. They know A2's coming, so this has to be something that truly stands out. And honestly, I'm looking forward to seeing it because of that. From a technical standpoint, seeing what they truly have to show us. And I think both of your descriptions of server meshing, I think it's going to be. Well, really, it begs it. What?
The whole chat.
Why the yellow
chat
card?
cannot handle the chat with Cash. He's talking about. I can't even say the things in
Back end.
isolation.
It's talking about the back end, Sonny.
Sharding, loads, everything.
Oh, we're being 15. All right, I got it.
The chat is this is my fear. This is an exact example, JB, of like, are they going to be able to talk about this tech stuff in a way that it is not like a super like weird play for them, right?
It's too bad this isn't like a nighttime stream when we can all three of us be home and take a shot every time they say sharding.
Oh boy.
You know what I mean? Just have an after dark stream.
Sonny said weird play. Have it that one, chat.
No,
that's a
you don't know what I'm into.
No, that's a stretch.
Yeah, that's a little
You're
bit
stretching.
of a stretch.
It's weak sauce.
All right. So anyway, guys, do you think that this kind of tech is kind of like the future of MMO development? Something that's going to be, I mean, we started 10 years ago, we had ESO, and it was actually kind of late to that party when it had mega servers, NA mega server, EU mega server. Is this kind of like the next logical step for MMO development, server meshing?
I think so. I think that I was thinking about this the other day, and when you really think about it, just about every MMO has tried to do something different on something like this. You have every game that comes out, not every game, but like a lot of the big games come out and they're like, here's what we want to do. And we've sort of invented this technology to let us do it. Like, do you remember when ESO changed to their big system with their massive, world server type of thing? That was a huge deal, right? And now you've got Star Citizen, and they're like, okay, how do we go between this enormous space system and have all this stuff working? And even a game like Eve, you don't really get load screens in Eve. You kind of do, but like every game has their own challenges, and games are made by programmers. Programmers like this kind of stuff, and even if they're not the ones that do it, they have friends that do it. So they all kind of exist in the same space. And when they want something, somebody else is like, no, I think we could make that happen. And then they just figure out a way to do it. So I don't necessarily know if every game will take on this particular technology, but I think that this is just another step forward in how you make an MMO.
I agree there. I don't necessarily know that it's the next step. And if it is the next step, then it's the next step in the evolution of where these systems should be in 2024, 2025, right?
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because you would think with all of this AI stuff that's going on, you would think that there would be a system, some type of program that's commercially available to people who are building these larger games, kind of like the Unreal system, right? You have this beautiful engine that you can build pretty much any game that you wanted to with, and at the same time, a lot of companies are still struggling to make their own creations and be innovative in these things for server technology.
Yeah.
And you'd think with massive servers out there that like handle the load of the world technologically, that something like this would be easy to get your hands on. But you still see companies having to build things like this. So that part does surprise me. But I'm really interested to see what innovations that they've made, and if this is, something new and great. At the same time, you think that in MMO is like not going to be a super high quality, high resolution, everything like a single player game that has these borders might, right? Because it's a vast, open, persistent world. So you got to think of all those things in the world that it has to render, and in a very specific order in order to make it a seamless experience for the consumer. So I do see it as the next step of something. And I hopefully that's the next step in evolution for creating persistent worlds. And I'd like to see where they're pushing it.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. Yeah, well said. Gosh, well said. Yep. All right. So, hey, everyone, don't forget July 3rd, 11 a.m. PST. Now, that is 2 p.m. EST for all of you like me in the Midwest over on the east side of the United States and whatnot. And those folks over the Great Pond, I'll be honest, I have no idea what your time frame is, but I'm assuming it's at night. So, anyway, enjoy the stream. It's going to be over at twitch.tv/AshesOfCreation. So, gentlemen, we're going to do something a little bit different. A little bit different. So over the last few weeks, we've had several viewers post questions in the comments, and we're like, you know what? Instead of just answering them here on the comments, which we do, and we always try to make sure and answer every single comment. We try. We don't always succeed, but I really feel like we're a cool 97%, somewhere in there.
Unless you're snarky.
Unless you're snarky, then you don't even get a thumbs up. We just keep moving forward.
Thumbs down.
Disliked.
I got something just real quick to say about that. I used to get pissy about that kind of stuff, and I really don't anymore. It kind of makes me laugh. Because we get all kinds of people watching our videos, and every once in a while somebody will trickle in and just have some kind of a snarky comment, and I kind of chuckle at it nowadays because I almost just like look for the snarky ones. But we've been
don't encourage that, please.
We've been so blessed. Like seriously, it just seems like the people who are coming to YouTube to watch our content are people that are truly interested in our content for what it is, which is awesome.
Well, I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. You kind of know what you're getting at a lore channel. So,
yeah, we're LoreForged, you guys. You're going to get some kind of lore.
Yeah, it's in the name.
It's like the AMA. It's like, oh, great. Lore guy's got a question about lore. It's like, what do you want out of me?
Great.
LoreForged is up. Let's go to sleep, everybody.
Now we got to listen to LoreForged.
I love it. All right. Okay, so I got to say this out loud. 1-12937 on episode 43.
So his IP address?
I don't know. This could be a landline phone number from the 90s. I don't know. Maybe this was the number he grew up on. So this is from our Node Wars episode 43. And he asked the question, quote, "My question to you sexy boys is this." Let me just pause right there for a second and say, Sonny, he's talking to you. So
I think he has an eyesight impairment.
First question is this: how important is world building, and lore to MMORPGs? All right, so this will be the remainder of the episode. And you know what? I'm gonna go. Normally I go to Cash here. I kind of know where Cash is gonna go, so I'm gonna go to Sunny. Sunny, how important is world building and lore to MMORPGs?
Oh, this is gonna be good.
Doesn't matter. Just give me an auction house. That's the answer. Screw it. I just want a spreadsheet. No, it's hugely important because we saw it in New World when New World came out. And I'm sorry that I'm rubbing my eyes, but like New World came out and like just thinking about that game makes me want to fall asleep with the way that it released because there was nothing, right? And I remember, oh man, this is one of my favorite things to kid you guys about is like listening to your podcast and hearing you say, you know, one of my favorite parts about this is how they don't just give you the lore, they make you go find it. And you really have to dig deep to find it. And I'm like, keep digging. It's not there.
Really? With New World, you didn't think it was there?
Not enough. Not in the condition that it launched in. Now, granted, there was reasons for that. Like that game was not designed as an MMO initially. They sort of put that on the back end and built an MMO afterwards. And I got to be totally honest with you. Like I gave up with New World after about, I don't know, 4 months or something like that. Like I just didn't play it anymore after that. And I guess maybe they've done a bunch of stuff since then with lore, but the reality is that I looked at that game and I saw firsthand what happens when you don't have enough there. And it's weird. I always say that I struggle with games that I can't sink my teeth into with like books and stuff. I really want that other stuff to build the world for me so that when I see it in the game, I'm more attracted to it. In Guild Wars, that was awesome. You know, you read the books and you hear the stories and then you show up in game and there's a statue for a dude that you knew his whole story. And you're like, this is awesome. Look at this statue. Have you guys seen the statue? This guy did this and this and this and this. And I know all that because I read a whole book about it. That's world building. That's super cool. And when you don't have that stuff, like it's just missed opportunities. And eventually I just don't kind of care anymore about what's going on in there. So it is important.
Sonny, I don't know. I feel like if I remember correctly, you ran a mean market on the onions specifically in the trading post.
Owned it. It's true. Now, like, I'm not the best example of somebody that's out there just digging deep for lore, but like that game was particularly bad, I thought, on that front. Guild Wars wasn't that way, and I played the market in Guild Wars, but I knew Guild Wars.
True. Cash?
I think for me, it's a no-brainer for me. And I think real quick, I don't often defend New World, but I'm going to in this respect, because I do agree that there wasn't enough lore, but the lore that they did have, especially the little Easter eggs and stuff that they would throw out pre-launch. And if you're in chat or if you're listening to our show and you don't know this, we did a show for probably a good solid 6 months for New World. We did the Lore Seekers podcast for New World. That is among the most fun I have ever had in researching a game and its history. And the reason being is because it was loosely based on the fantastical notion that in the 1700s, there were expeditions and explorers that were exploring the world, which they were, but that they found this magical island that had the secret to eternal life. And that's what Eternum was. And in almost everything that they released, there was some bits of historical, like real life historical perspective built into their lore. They had, names and famous people who acted as NPCs, famous people, like real life famous people from throughout our history, world history, by the way, too, not just where we live in the Americas, but world history. they had some figures from that time era. They had a lot of things, like their art styles were very much the way that the art style was in the 1700s. A lot of the weapons were, it was a mix between like medieval weapons all the way through, you know, like the early ages all the way through the 1700s, and like all the way up to muskets and such. So one of the things that I loved doing was running around and finding those lore pages. And just like as a collection, and I really hope Ashes does something similar, to where there are books and parchments, papers that you can find that you can add to a journal that you've discovered in some of the deepest corners of Vera. I really hope that's there. So that's enough for defending New World, but I did enjoy that portion of it. Sonny, I like what you said about the world building, because it is an absolute fact that if you have an IP, especially a newer IP, but if you can put in some type of we've been talking about, you know, the want and need for novels for a long time. I just don't know that they have the bandwidth to do that yet, but maybe later on down the line, we get a book that, you know, tells the true story of all the events surrounding things like Delia's Diary or Carfin. You know, like you really could have they could have some of their writers spin off or even hire one of these fantasy writers to write a novel about Vera, about, you know, maybe what happened on Sanctus, and then the portals open and all of a sudden they're on this, you know, world that's filled with the essence and filled with magic. And you can really run with that. And imagine if they were to do that like a year before launch.
Oh,
they throw this book out there. We would devour it and read it cover to cover twice. Right?
Book club.
There would be a book club.
there'd be a book club.
So I just, you know, all of those extra things, especially for a new IP, I think are super important. So maybe they open it up to fanfic and let some people write, you know, novellas and some different short stories surrounding it. I just would love for something like that to happen. And I say all this to say that to me, it's an absolute no brainer. Lore is super important in games to me. And for the simple reason of, and I'll leave it here because I know there's more discussion on it, but it gives your character reason to walk outside their door every single play session. And that's what it is to me.
Yeah. I mean,
JB, how important is it?
It's incredibly important, right? Like, and anyone who says you're not into lore, I would advise you to understand this. You are more than you realize. So let's take Star Wars, for instance, right? Or really any kind of movie or fan, you know, like something you're a fan of. If maybe it's Dune and you're, you know, watching the most latest one, or let's go back to Star Wars. So it's Empire versus Republic, right? If there is no why as to why they're fighting, which by the way is lore, then they're just fighting, right? It doesn't carry any weight. But you have to carry weight. There has to be weight involved. Well, how do you get weight involved? Well, there has to be a story. There has to be some kind of gripping conflict that rises. And it just keeps going. And then, oh my gosh, from now we're at the middle of the book and all this stuff is happening. And then and then you got to finish it in a bigger way. And it's just like, that's the why, like kind of what Cash said. And that's important. World building is incredibly important. It is the foundation to the world that you are living in and that your people are going to live in. From a world building standpoint, my thought process has always been, whenever I'm world building myself, I want to create something that the people can, I want to create a world where people can, that they can fall in love with, that they can gravitate to, that they can have favorite things about it, things that they can maybe stand, that maybe because of their personal life, it's something that they, you know, latch onto. Like, that's world building, that's lore, and that is the why. And more reason than not, that maybe we don't realize is, as people, like, there is a lot of things that are very passive, that's like things in lore and in world building that you gravitate towards without realizing it, because it may have been something that maybe, you know, happened to you when you were younger, or an experience maybe that you had, you know, like that lore no matter how small it is. It could be like Cash stole my sandwich, so now I'm starting a galactic war. You know, like, that's my why. He stole my sandwich. Kind of excessive, but hey, you know what? It's a good sandwich. So
tough.
It's tough. Times are tough here, all right? Times are tough. So anyway, long story short, world building and lore is incredibly important to MMORPGs. To echo Cash, it is absolutely the why in your gameplay experience. And you need to have that. You must have that.
Yeah. And I think that every game tries to have that. I think that some of them are better than others, right? Some of them tell a better story. Some of them have better stuff to support the story and everything like that. It reminds me of sports, honestly. Like when you have a person that doesn't know anything about the two teams that are playing against each other, it is just laundry. It is just guys wearing different laundry, right? But then when you have somebody that is like super into this sport and they know the backstory on why these two teams hate each other and all the trades that have happened and fights that took place 15 years ago and stuff like that, that's lore. That's like how you get excitement out of things. So without it, you just have two teams you don't care about that are playing against each other, and that's no good. So I'm going to spin this a little bit, because the next part of the question is with regards to Ashes of Creation, and we're going to have to like keep this one fairly short because we do have a couple other questions that we have to get to, but I'm going to go to Cash first here. And I'm going to say, with regards to Ashes of Creation, how important is world building going to be because of the nature of nodes changing differently on different servers? If you're on one server, this town might collapse and you might build a metropolis over here. And this is going to happen and this war takes place, but it doesn't exist on somebody else's server. So how does Ashes of Creation deal with the importance of world building if it's server specific?
That just means that every server has a story of how that particular world is evolving, but it doesn't mean that lore doesn't need to be a part of that, because you still need a reason to step out your door, right? You still need a reason to go through the portal. So going through the portal is rediscovering their homeland, you know, because you have all these generations that were these generations of people that escaped Vera when the apocalypse happened. And now those portals that were dormant for so many years are now opened. Imagine that happening in Times Square. Of course, people are going to step through it. But if you can discover the story of what happened while you were gone, that is what would drive people to continue going. And now they've stepped onto Vera. And now you're starting to establish each server is going to be, you know, like its own story in itself. And it's no different than the real world, because civilizations rise and fall. So I think it's hugely important. And like, to me, you look at any IP, just if you were to take the most successful IPs in pop culture and gaming, period, just name me one.
Star Wars.
There you go.
Okay. Jordan?
Dune.
Gaming.
Warcraft.
Dune. Dungeons and Dragons, right? Like Faerun, World of Warcraft, Warhammer, Elder Scrolls, you name any of them. Okay. Every one of them has insane amounts of lore and a loyal fan base that started long before most of the current games. So for Ashes to come in and not have a real story behind it, regardless of what takes place in this node or that node and how the world evolves, you still have to have that baseline story. I'm so for that.
Yeah, I would agree. You know, like with Ashes of Creation, you have it's Insane Axeman in chat, I think, hit it perfectly. Every server is its own D&D game. You know, like it's its own experience. And, you know, the fact that we can have a library and on the wiki it says, quote, the history of each server will be tracked and visible to players in a node's library. That's cool. That's your lore that you were a part of, that you get to experience, that you got to experience and continue to experience. And that's why it's important. because you were a part. You weren't the guy. You were not Bob Dovahkiin, you know, with about millions of other Dovahkiins. No, you were one piece in that puzzle. And you can take pride in knowing that you were a part of that, and you get to see that play out before you. And every server is going to be different. That's going to be part of the thrill. I'll never forget one of the dev updates that Margaret said specifically. She had some ideas for things that she wanted to do, and one of those things was kind of like a news broadcast style of what's happening on the server. You know what I mean? Like just recapping some of the major stories, some of the major things that have taken place, and that would be awesome, right? That's the best part. Like anybody who wants to jump in creating at that point, you then have an outlet right there, like just covering what's happened on the server. I think that's such a cool idea. So yes, it is going to be different for every server, but it's just as valuable.
I think it's going to be really interesting to see how that actually gets written. You know, like who is going to write and archive the history of each server? Is that going to be AI? Are they going to like, oh, this server just had a change, and go into Chat GPT and write me a story of how this happened? You know what I mean? Like, how is that actually going to end up on paper in a library?
And when you really think about it, like the stories of Ashes of Creation have to kind of end before the game starts, because you can't tell a story about how Winstead reigned supreme as the center of the Riverlands, and then on your server Winstead is a tent. Because nobody can keep Winstead going without it getting burned to the ground.
Right.
So yeah, like it's an interesting play, right? Like when you think of Warcraft or Star Wars or anything like that, you go to Coruscant. Coruscant is Coruscant. You go to the capital of the Horde, and it is enormous, and it has always been enormous, and it always will be enormous. You just exist around that, and you go take out like villages and stuff like that, but you don't like Lordaeron has always burned down, and it's not like Lordaeron on some servers is killing it and like it's better than Stormwind. No, it's burned down. So there is some legit question to that. Like how are they going to work around that? But that's a unique challenge and something interesting. We're going to go on to the next question, which is from episode 42, which was the cash shop debate. Got a lot of good questions on this. Got some not so good questions on this. Got some fun ones. Everybody had an opinion on this one, and we knew this was coming. Okay, we knew that the cash shop debate was going to generate a lot of things, and I said some things that didn't make a lot of people happy, and that's okay. We're okay with that. This was a comment from Gunny's Gaming 4940, and he starts it off with a banger. He says, "You guys continually missed a crucial point in this conversation." He says, "The fact that people in this chat or on this show are the diehards who will make up 1% of the player base. Yes, they might be happy with a $25 sub rate, but the other 99% of casual players or after-work gamers would not be willing to pay that, and therefore not purchase the game in the first place. Those people want a cash shop to look good instead of grinding out content to look how they want." Now, the reason why I picked this question is because it introduces two interesting concepts, and I wanted to ask you both of them. And I will start with JB. JB, one, are we hardcore?
Yeah, so I want to address that right off the bat.
And the people in our chat, are they the 1% of gamers?
Here's the thing. First off, I appreciate the fact that you, Gunny, think that
Gunsy.
I'm a one.
It's Gunsy.
I'm sorry, Gunsy.
Is it Gunsy?
It's Gunsy.
Gunsy.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I appreciate the fact that you consider me a 1%. That's flattering. It's simply not the case. You could say we are hardcore in our passion for content creation. That you would be right in saying. But when it comes to being the 1%, I'm not. Like, I'm a father and a husband. I am an after-work gamer. Like, family will always come first. You've seen me jet away during these episodes. Why? Family's calm. So, like, for me, like, our audience may make up a portion of that, but our audience, truthfully, isn't even in the 1% at all. A lot of us are dads. We're parents. We're moms. We're family first folk. And to be completely honest with you, no, Sonny, we are not the hardcore at all. How often do we talk systems? Hang on. How often do we actually get in the nitty gritty of systems here?
Never.
No, we hardly do. Why? Because we're broad general entertainment. And that's why the audience we have is why they come. Because that's our style. That's our flavor. There's other great content creators that focus on the cutting the fat and going through every technical aspect.
Yes.
Like that is their shtick, and they will always infinitely be better than we are than at that, because that is their thing. And we can't, like that's not us. So it's different here. We have different folk here. We're like hobbits, man. We're hobbit folk. We're Shire folk, aren't we, chat?
We're fat, dumb, and happy.
Cash, were you surprised when you heard somebody say that us and our chat is the 1% hardcore gamers? Diehards, they said. Diehards.
Well, I mean, I don't think that Gunsy is like completely off base. It might be maybe a little off base if that's what their intent was to say that, we're the hardcore. I definitely don't think we're the hardcore. When it's going to come to playing the game, there's going to be plenty of people out there going to be much better than us at this game because they're just going to have the time. I also, at the same time, don't think that Gunsy's wrong in their point about the $25 sub. So I was trying to talk you guys out of it. Like, don't bring that up. So I think there's a lot of people that would see something like a higher price point sub and would be like, no, like I can't justify the amount of time that I have to play this game, for maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours a night, and having to pay a higher premium. There's a lot of people that don't play Warcraft for that reason, even at the decades old price point of $15. So I don't think Gunsy's wrong there. And if that was intended that like we are, the diehards, kind of right there, because we're doing a podcast for a video game that's not out yet. Of course we're diehard. Of course we're fanboys, right? So I don't think that the comment was, totally off base depending upon the meaning, but I do agree with him about the $25 price point on a sub.
Let me send you the second part of the question then. The second part of the question is that the casual, not when he refers to this, he's actually not referring to us, but we are these people. The after work casual gamer wants a cash shop to look good instead of grinding out content. Do you think that the cash shop is the most attractive to the casual gamer as opposed to the more intense gamer?
I can respect everybody's opinion, right? And especially in a YouTube comment, sometimes people get so passionate about what they're talking about, they paint everybody with a broad stroke brush, right? And I think that's kind of what's happening here. I don't think all casual people are in favor of cash shop. And I also don't think that the cash shop is a totally terrible thing for a lot of people who play casually. I get the point that people would like to have the option to pay real world money for cosmetic items. I'm one of them. I definitely want that option. And that's only because I plan to do both. I plan to grind the stuff out to get the different looks, and I plan to buy some of the stuff that I like in the cash shop so that I can have more of a wardrobe. I want more transmogs. So
let me ask you the question, though. I want to ask you the question. You have to pick one of the two answers here.
Okay.
Who is the cash shop for? The casual gamer or the hardcore gamer?
I don't want to be broad stroked like that. I don't think either one of them. I don't think either one of them.
You're a content creating podcast professional. You got to pick one.
Okay. And then if I have to pick one, then I would definitely say for the casual.
Okay.
Because the casual doesn't have the time to grind out the things that would also be available in the game.
That was Gunsy's point. JB, do you agree with that?
I mean, if I have to pick one, I guess it would be casual, but at the same notion, like I'm still not for it because and this is going to, I think this is a per player question, right? I think it is a different per player. So for me personally, I'm at a point now in playing MMOs where I don't want to buy anything off the cash shop. I want to earn it. Even if I'm a casual, even if it takes me a while to get said thing, because the MMO genre has been diluted to the point where things are given to you on a silver platter and things are offered to you on a, whether it's a trading post or which I think could have been done better. You know, it could have been done in such a better way than what it's turned into, or on a cash shop. Like, it just, for me, again, this is just me personally. I don't dissuade anyone from buying on a cash shop. If that's what you like to do, I get it. I totally get it, right? Like, everyone's values are different. Not knocking that at all. For me personally, I'm at a point where I just really want to earn those things, and I don't want to buy things for the, like, I would rather just donate money to Intrepid than buy something off the cash shop. Truthfully, like, I really want to. I'm at that stage where I just really want to earn the things that I have.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by your answers to this, because it surprised me when he said that the cash shop was for the casual players. And I was like, huh, because that had never really occurred to me. Like, I thought that the cash shop was for the hardcore players that wanted to spend all their personal money on, like, slight variations in color of clothing, right? And that was something that I had thought, but, you know, when I hear you explain it, it's a valid opinion, and so I think that I learned something a little bit here today. I don't know if I agree with it. Yeah. I still disagree with the beginning part, because I'm the one that said that the $25 sub is just inevitable, like Thanos, right? Like, it's just going to have to at some point arrive.
But you could also have the argument that a cash shop is not for the hardcore player, because the hardcore player has time.
Yeah.
And they're putting in a lot more time into the game. So why would a hardcore player need the cash shop if they can just earn those items in game?
Maybe they can't earn those items in game, though, right? There's nothing that says that the cash shop has to have items that they can earn in game. So if you can't earn the items in game, then is it the casual player that's going to spend $100 on a fancy, you know, staff, or is it the hardcore player that's going to do that? That was kind of what I was thinking too, right? Like, it depends on the price point, right? Can you legitimately tell me that a casual player is going to drop $300 on something super fancy in a cash shop? Like, there's just no way, right? If that was what was in the cash shop, then it'd have to be hardcore players. So,
but if you had, okay, I don't want to beat this horse to death, but if you have a casual player that has, you know, a sizable income, they might not care.
True. Yeah,
true.
Maybe it's rare, but
it's the broad stroke thing, right? It was just something that I saw, and I was like, wait a minute, are cash shops for casual players? And I was like, I don't know. I want to hear what the guys say about this. So yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, just kind of an interesting comment, and further proof that, like, that whole show and that whole topic is just going to be something that you will probably not get any level of agreement on between players, because it's so personal and it's so player specific.
Yep.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. You know what, like, real quick though, like, even when we order, like, let's say like a limited edition for an upcoming game, right? Like, and you get all those freebies. I may be in the minority here, but I don't even like using those freebies right off the bat. Like, I like to make my character feel as though he's earned those things. Like, you know, like, so Steam Summer Sale is going on right now. I bought, I kid you not, 6 RPGs because I wanted to play RPGs. And these have been on my radar for a very long time. I picked up Hogwarts Legacy today.
Oh.
And so I booted it up. And I'm starting with this one. And, you know, he got all this extra stuff because, you know, you got the extra edition. If you link your accounts, you get more things, special things. So I did that. And so I got all this stuff and I'm like, wow, it's really cool. I don't want to use any of it yet. Like, I just, you know, like, I want to be in my rags and earn my way. So I don't even know if that's a minority thing, you know, and maybe that's another part of and again, I don't mean to beat a dead horse like Cash was saying, but maybe that's another part of the cash shop thing. Like, I want to feel as though my character and I have earned said thing instead of just with a card and then I am wearing it, you know, like, I don't. I don't know.
What?
You're a wizard now, Harry.
You're a wizard, Jamie. I wanted to make sure that when I was in class, my girl was wearing like her class robes, and then when she went out adventuring, she would wear like outdoor adventuring clothes.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to be outdoors in my like, I don't know, plaid frock or whatever they make them wear at those places.
Sonny,
What?
that damn it, I'm yellow carding you. That's exactly why I want a cash shop, so I could buy different things, so I could role play my character the way I want to play it. You freaking hypocrite.
But that's hardcore.
It is. I'm definitely the 1%.
All right, so let's move into this last one here. And Cash, I'm going right to you. This is going to be a quick one. So this is from episode 36, Weapon Skill Trees. This is from @NK Brillo YT. Says, SWG was dying a slow death. And I feel that Sony did the NGE, which is the new Galaxy experience, I believe. New player experience, yeah. To try to revive it, and it just made everything worse. Cash, do you remember what profession was the last one to get your Jedi slot? Mine was Fencer.
Yeah. So I'll answer the second part of the question before I dive into the first part. I do remember what my profession was to unlock my Jedi slot. It was Pistolier. And I remember I had my daughter asleep. I have a 20-year-old daughter now, friends, 20. She's a whole ass person now. She's not a baby.
I love how that's how you refer to your child.
A child is a whole ass person now.
Whole ass person. Whole.
So anyway, I remember when I finished off that skill tree, my daughter was right here, asleep on my chest. And I remember damn near coming out of my chair when that happened. I woke her up and she's crying. I'm crying. I was so excited when I unlocked that Jedi slot. But yeah, it was Pistolier. So
I got a question about that. Did you know that you were going to unlock it, the Jedi slot, when you finished Pistolier?
By that time, I had a very good idea that I was close, but I did not know that it was going to happen. And I just remember as soon as I finished that last little bit of experience that I needed to finish off the last box in the skill tree, I saw a little thing come across the screen. It's just text, simple text that came across the screen. And I think it said, you feel like it's some strange connection to the Force. And I knew it. I knew that was it. And I was like, I almost dropped my baby girl. I didn't. She grew up to be
in the head.
A human. Anyway. So Brillo is not wrong in saying that Sony created the NG, the New Galaxy experience, to try and revive the game. Of course, they wanted.
It was new game enhancements.
New whatever it was. New. Not gonna work here anymore. Anyway, what they did was they destroyed the game. Right? They truly destroyed the game, and the reason being is because there were people like me out there who had put in all of that work into unlocking that Force sensitive slot. And I think it was probably maybe 3 months later after I unlocked my Jedi and had gone through all that work. And what that did, if you're not familiar, in the time frame that Star Wars Galaxies chose, the Jedi were very rare during that period. So you had to do several things. You had to master several classes in unspecified order for every account in order to unlock a second character slot. And that second character was a Force sensitive character, and that you could make a Jedi. You can only have one character per server in that game. So that's kind of the backstory of this whole thing. But when they put this NGE into place, what it did was you logged in, and they had changed everything after this update to where you still retained all of the experience that you had earned, but it would make you pick a class. And one of the classes that you could pick was Jedi. And it's kind of the same thing in Warcraft, where you had gone through all of this work to get this mount, and you finally get that mount to drop, and a year later or 6 months later, it's on the shop. Is the same experience. So it very much pissed a lot of people off, and it absolutely sunk Star Wars Galaxies when they did that. When what Sony wanted to do was to boost more people to come into the game, and for a little while it worked, but so many of their core players left because they were pissed.
The game was massively different.
Yeah, it was massively different, and you will be very happy to know that the aspects of Star Wars Galaxies, which were some of the best ones, which were their resource gathering and crafting system and surveying, all of those items is what Ashes of Creation is utilizing to build their own crafting and surveying and resource system. And it was all prior to this big NGE patch that they did for Star Wars Galaxies. So thank God that they're building it based on that.
Well, it's more like the philosophy of it, right? Like the philosophy of how those systems worked and the way that you went about it is you can build an MMO in a lot of different ways, and certain MMOs have had great things. JB and I constantly rave about the housing in WildStar. It was amazing, right? Just the best housing in any game we've ever played.
Best.
And Star Wars Galaxies just had one of those economy crafting systems that just was so good. And doesn't mean the rest of the game wasn't good, and it doesn't mean that they didn't like shoot themselves. they blew their whole foot off with that one. So but one of the dreams of Ashes of Creation is when they tell us, these are the things we like out of this game. These are the things we like out of this game. We want to take those things. We're not even going to be shy about it. We're saying this is what we're modeling and after. So I don't know, JB. I think that was a kind of a fun little exercise with some Q&A from the people.
Yeah, that was fun. And we may have to bring this back in the future. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. This was LoreForged, the podcast on Ashes of Creation. Now, here's the part where I ask you, if you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment. And for everyone, maybe people who are here, please take a moment. Whether maybe you use Spotify, maybe you use YouTube or iTunes, or Apple Podcasts, whatever app you're using, please just take a second and tell us how we're doing with a quick review. It could just be leaving some stars, just letting us know. It just really gives us a good indicator of how we're doing on the show for you guys, and really means a lot, because then it shows other gamers as well, like when they're trying to find the show for them, and there's a lot of great shows, it just kind of helps them know what the show is all about because of you, because of your support. So if you could, please take a moment, leave a review, tell us how we're doing. You can always call us 516-875-1776, and of course you can always email us at loreforgedhq@gmail.com. and Sunny Ravencourt.
You can go to our website, which is a link tree now, and that's at loreforged.com, and find the links to all of our links. You like some links with your links? Go to Linktree. You can go to YouTube, and that's where you will find a bunch of videos that we have done, and Cash and JB are both ramping up the video creation machine again, and I was out in my backyard with a bow tie on and a tripod, and my neighbors think I'm weird now again. So that's a thing, and we'll get one of those videos coming up soon. Twitch.tv/LoreForgedHQ. I've been streaming pretty regularly, and we've been having a grand old time, but I mean, nothing beats doing the show live on Twitch. So you might be watching that right now. Thank you to all the people that have followed and subscribed to our Twitch channel. I don't say that enough, but it is awesome, and it really helps out, and we love having you as a part of that community. So thank you for Twitch people. Love it. Love doing the show live on this. And finally, we have Patreon. We just recorded the State of the Owl, and we will have another one every month. That is our behind the scenes after dark episode, which is just exclusively for the patrons. That is at patreon.com/LoreForgedHQ. Additionally, as soon as we're done with any video that we make, we put it up there immediately. So, Cash, what else?
A lot of these happen on Soto.
Yeah, it's kind of the place.
Yeah, I kind of cut loose a little bit, which makes it fun. Friends, you can follow us on X, or the former Twitter, at LoreForged HQ. You can follow us on Instagram at LoreForged HQ. We have some very fun new members to our community. Actually, we had another really busy week here. So I want to say a very fond welcome to the Forge family, to Epibear, Whisper Swift, Rue, Koaru, Foxclaw, Pineapple Dog, We Are Epic, Crew, Vamp Zomb, Hollow Death, Bitmance, Azaman, Magma Cannon, Minehack, Pockets, Eli Skyborn, and Shugan. Welcome to the LoreForged community. And Sonny, I wanted to, is your appearance with a certain other content creator next Monday public?
That's happening, I guess.
Yeah. So
I'll be there.
Sonny's going to be on Zillin's show on Monday, July 1st. So that will be the same day that this show comes out. So make yourself Irish coffee and sit down and watch Sonny do his thing on Monday, July 1st.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Zillin and I have a kind of fun back and forth on things like that, and so it'll be interesting to hear like a lot of his takes on things.
Zillin hates lore. Zillin hates lore, so you need to turn him.
Oh, that's good.
Well, they shouldn't have sent me. The three of us. That was a mistake.
You guys
He's going to come out of there. It's like confirmed. LoreForged, not really into lore.
You heard it on the show here, friends.
Oh, that's good. Well, everybody, thanks so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful week in gaming. We love you, and we will see you right here next week on LoreForged. Take care, everybody.
Peace, love, and honeybees.
Safe travels, adventures.